welcome to our Meet the Candidates series as we continue to count down for national elections 2025. I am your host, Natalie Sealy-Richardson, and you are viewing Tobago Updates. It's the best place for you to keep abreast and know what's happening as we all prepare for Monday, the 28th of April, 2025. And you are looking fight for West and East. And this morning, we have another candidate who is sitting with me, and he is Mr. Wade Caruth. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to you, Natalie, and good morning to Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago by extension.
And Mr. Caruth has offered himself for Tobago. Is it East. Tobago East? Yes, because we met his colleague yesterday, Miss Clark. And today we have the opportunity to sit with you, Mr. Caruth. And before we get into the heavier part of the conversation, there are many people who may be viewing and have no idea who Mr. Caruth is. All right, okay. So let's start our conversation there this morning. Where did you grow up? Tell us a little about you professionally, okay, so we can start there this morning.
No problem at all. Well, as you say, my name is Wade Henson Samuel Caruth. Henson was my grandmother's middle name, so they bestowed it upon me as well.
So you're carrying a legacy there.
I am. And my mother gave me Samuel. I spent a lot of time growing up in Argyle and Glamorgan, where my family is from, the Caruths. Mainly my father and my grandfather. Most people in Argyle would have known my father. They called him Bully.
Okay.
But he wasn't a bully,
right,
but he used to play football, and he was a strong
thoroughbred
guy. Yeah, a thoroughbred guy.
Yes, a thoroughbred.
My uncle Kenneth Caruth, he had a garage on Glamorgan. So I spent a lot of time there in my childhood. Eventually, I moved with my mom to Plymouth,
okay,
where I went to primary school. At primary school, actually, funny story, I came second in tests at my first exam. And subsequently, throughout primary school, I came first in tests.
All right.
So they always, had these high ambitions and high hopes for me.
Yes.
Always sending me to all competitions.
Right.
And, they would ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And even as a 5-year-old child, my response was, I want to be the president. Well, at the time, I didn't understand it.
Yes,
So,
and that's what we hear, president. Yes.
Yeah, I said, I want to be the president of the United States.
Yes.
Because I didn't fully grasp it. But I knew deep down that at that time, I would see vagrants, you would see people begging, people in half a clothes. So I'd ask my mom, why people suffering? Why are they going through this? And she'd be like, because they don't have food or they don't have money.
Right.
And as a child, it always confused me.
Right.
So growing up, I pursued my education at Bishop's High School, where I excelled more in the social aspect. I excelled more in curricular activities. I played football, basketball, involved in Spanish club and various co-curricular activities, as well as still keeping my academics up. After high school, I graduated Bishop's with a distinction in maths, 1 in English,
right,
and 4 other subjects: social studies, economics, technical drawing, and Spanish.
Right.
I further went on to do A-levels at UWI Open Campus,
right,
which is at Signal Hill, as you may know. I further then went to University of the West Indies in Trinidad, St. Augustine, where I pursued agricultural business management. Because, I always figured, what does Tobago need?
Right.
And I always thought agriculture should be something we really get back to. So I figured agri-business management would help bring agriculture into the modern age.
And we will come back to that topic of agriculture, because I think you cannot have a conversation about Tobago and not talk about agriculture.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about your transition into the politics. Is it that you have always been someone, advocating? Were you always aligned to a political group? And as you talk about that, why the Patriotic Front?
Right. Well, I haven't always been aligned to a political group, but I've always been aligned to groups, because I was part of the Tobago Agricultural Society. Well, actually, after my degree, it was very difficult to get a job, unfortunately. So I thought it would have been easy to transition into the government and give back and do my part. But it wasn't so easy to get employed in the government with that degree, which is actually to this day still I haven't been employed with that degree.
Right.
But I've still involved myself in a lot of different areas to still help push this agricultural boost that I have envisioned, and I know a lot of people have as well. So being part of the Tobago Agricultural Society, I also am an avid writer. I do spoken word and write songs. So I joined the Tobago Writers Guild, where I am the assistant treasurer.
Right.
And, we are a group that really want to see Tobago develop, especially the creative art is concerned, and agriculture is concerned with the Tobago Agricultural Society.
Right.
So these involvements kind of positioned me, not politically, but socially. And I guess political parties would have been eyeing it. And now I see the elections coming about. I scan in the political landscape
Yeah.
to see, who really has the best interests of Tobago at heart. And my eyes laid on Miss Michaela Pandey. And I started to listen to her and understand, her methodology and her ideology going in towards politics. And I started to, align with her because I felt that the other parties, they still have this party politics type of style going on. This only election time they should be present style of politics. Oh, let's spend a lot of money for elections, but let's ignore the people for the next 4 years.
Right.
So I aligned with Michaela Pandey's party, and well, so happens that I was selected as the candidate for Tobago East. And why I would say the Patriotic Front, not only because of the leader, but because of the mandate and the philosophy of the party. It is branded as a humanitarian party, meaning it's not just about us, it's not just about the party, but it's really about the human development on a whole. And that is one of the main pillars of the Patriotic Front. And when you analyze even the terminology, patriots is someone that is willing to fight for their country.
Right.
And I definitely believe I am a patriot in that realms. And we are on the front lines doing it. We are on the front lines defending this nation.
Right.
So we hope that people would trust us to give us that representation so we can really definitely fight for them with the powers vested upon us by the nation.
And looking at, the political landscape, do you think that a party that is born in Trinidad can really facilitate the needs and understand the needs of Tobago?
Absolutely, because it's a national party, firstly. And then when you have representatives like myself and Miss Clark, who will champion the cause of Tobago with our other 35 candidates in Trinidad, because we have 37 candidates in this general election. So it is a national party with a Tobago focus, with Tobago representatives who will champion the cause of Tobago. And Miss Pandey, our political leader, she has high hopes for Tobago. She has a vision for Tobago that is tied together with where we have been and where we should be going.
Everyone seems to want a piece, so to speak, of Tobago for this national elections. I mean, when you look at the number of parties or groups putting themselves out there presenting candidates, I think in the East alone we have, 9 candidates?
No, 5 in the East and 9 in the West. 9
in the West, So usually you might see 2 or 3 symbols when you go in to vote, but now you have to know all these groups. Why do you think Tobago has piqued this interest at this time?
I would say that there is a demand. So sometimes the supply will match the demand. And on the ground, the people are crying out for better, they're crying out for change, they're crying out for options. Because as they say, they're tired of the same coin, choosing the lesser of evils.
Right.
This election, you can go out and choose the best candidate that fits the ideology and the vision that you have for Tobago. So this is why I think a lot of these parties or these organizations have put themselves forward, because there is a gap, there is a need. Tobagoan and people are demanding better. So I am here to present that better to them and to work with them so that we can create a Tobago that we could be proud of.
Right. And I heard you in interviews, even on your social media platforms, you use the term grassroots frequently. What do you mean by that, grassroots?
I mean, the people just like me, the people just like you, the people who are on the ground, the people who are not in the big offices driving Prados or whatever it is they're buying these days.
Right.
The people who are actually feeling the pain, the people who are trying to innovate. I met a young man yesterday in Goodwood, and he telling me he has children, but he cannot get, he used to do construction, but he can't get any job right now. So he's on the corner selling his produce, and he's trying to ply his trade in that way,
right,
because he has to mind his children.
Right.
And the alternative of that is we see it too. We see our young men are turning to crime. Our young men are turning to gangs. Our young men are, on the corner selling marijuana. And they're making little dollars. I mean, I'm not trying to knock anybody's hustle.
Right.
But this shouldn't be the case. They shouldn't be in a state of such desperation. So when I say grassroots, I'm talking about the people in Tobago that are going through it.
Right.
Or even trying, because there are innovators amongst them, but they're not getting that support. So that's what I mean when I say grassroots.
Right, and you have offered yourself, of course, to represent a particular district, you know, Tobago East. Do you think that you can really have that impact on Tobago that Tobago needs?
Definitely, because we practice representative government and we want to practice collaborative representation where we hear, we get to dissect and understand what the people want, what the people need, and we bring that in policy form into the parliament. Because it's not just, well, I have ideas, of course, and I don't want to just push my ideas on people, because someone told me that when you are alone looking, there are blind spots.
Right.
So we need other people around who can put their eye in. And a lot of the times our political parties are so hard to access that it's only, you know, like, well, for example, the sandals thing at first.
Right.
It just said, hey, look, Tobago took sandals.
Right.
And Tobagoans had no idea this was even in the planning, in the works. So I think this type of government, this type of style of governing needs to change.
Right.
Where Tobago needs to be more involved in decision making for what happens in Tobago. So this is the type of representation I am offering, and I know my colleague Arita Clark is offering as well, because we want to collaborate with Tobagonians to make Tobago great.
Right. What's your ultimate goal in offering yourself? Because I mean, you are somebody who's now getting into the politics in terms of publicly, people are getting to know you. You know, one may say, well, your chances at the polls, of course, will not be one where you'd be successful, and your ultimate goal may not necessarily be, okay, at the end of this, if I'm not successful, that's it for me. So what's next? What you're going into this, really thinking you're going to win, really think you'll be the member of parliament, you know, and if not, where does it lead next?
Well, as you mentioned, grassroots. We're getting a lot of grassroots support. The ground is supporting us a lot. A lot of people are supporting us, but they do not want to publicly say it because they are afraid of victimization.
Right.
And my goal as a humanitarian and as a Tobagonian is to advance Tobago. Regardless of what position or what seat I am in, my goal is to advance Tobago. So that is the end goal, or the result that I hope to see. I hope to see Tobago in the way that I envision Tobago.
Right.
And not only myself, but a lot of Tobagonians as well. We supposed to have a rich population, a wealthy nation of thinkers, of doers, of innovators who are championing industries, as opposed to 70% or more of the population working for the government. And unfortunately, a lot of these government services are inefficient. So I want to see Tobago reach the way it has to be. So whatever form it takes, I will be championing that cause. And of course, there are a lot of people who need help. So I will be doing my best to help them in whatever form, in whether it be business incubation, helping them develop their business ideas, even helping them access the services that are present in the government, whether it be food cards or grants or self-help loans, because there's too much red tape involved in accessing government services. And unfortunately, it seems to only go to friends and families of a particular party. So this is my goal, is to be the middleman between the people and the government.
Right.
The people and the NGOs, the people and the charities, because there are a lot of even international bodies. I don't know if you have Habitat for Humanitarians.
Yes.
They are doing a lot of great work, and a lot of people could benefit from it, but they do not know where to access the application, how to do the application, where to get the quotations. So my goal is to help assist them in all these capacities. I've been giving out these forms, helping people fill them out, and we plan to continue championing these causes.
Right. And you mentioned you see yourself as the middle person. So how would you define your role as a member of parliament? Because I mean, everybody would have, we know the formal, the process, etc. But you know, as you are on the ground and asking people, let me be your member of parliament. How would you define the role of the member of parliament?
Okay. Well, even when I'm on the ground and I'm asking people, let me be your member of parliament, I'm also asking them, what do you want to see in your community? What do you want to see in Tobago East? Or what do you want to see in your village? So I'm taking these ideas, and of course we have our experts, we have a lot of intelligent people in Tobago. We're partnering with them to come up with policies that will address the needs of the people, So when I see myself even as a middleman in Parliament, where I can bring the concerns of the people to the Parliament, and we can champion policies that would actually alleviate these problems.
And what type of policies do you have in mind?
Well, three main things we're looking at first is land title and land ownership. We want Tobagonians to not just be on a land, oh yeah, my grandmother gave me that, but we want them to have access to their titles so that they can benefit from the things that come with being a landowner. Another thing we want to champion is youth empowerment. Our youths are idle. Unfortunately, a lot of our young people do not see viable options for their future. A lot of them are despondent and depressed. So we want to make sure that we are bringing forth institutions, we are bringing forth organizations to help champion these youths and bring them out of this depressed state and empower them to create wealth for themselves and their family. And thirdly, we are looking at agricultural innovation. Agriculture is not just primary agriculture. Tobago was the breadbasket of the Caribbean at one point. We had industries, we had textile factories. Where are these things now? So we need to bring back industries in Tobago. We need to bring back things that can generate a higher GDP for our nation, as well as create proper employment for our citizens. Not just URP, CPEP, they have their place, but we need to have our citizens be in high power jobs that could really create wealth. Like for one, cocoa. Our cocoa is one of the best in the world. But what are we doing with it as a nation? It is being sent to other countries to develop. We can have a factory right here that creates the finest chocolates and chocolate products. And that's just one agricultural thing. We can look at medicinals. We can have, let's say, the village of Castara focused on medicinal planting and medicinal production. So we can turn all these medicinal plants that grow here so abundantly into viable products to be exported to the international pharmaceutical market, which we know is, I want to say trillions, but it's a lot of billions of dollars. Yeah. And that's just two agricultural products. We're looking at a pillar of 10 to start off. But there's cocoa, I say the medicinal. There's coconut. And of course, we have seaweed washing up on our shores every year. And sometimes the government pays money to dump it. Other countries are capitalizing on that free resource. That viable resource is very healthy for you. It can be teas, it can be, I know people use it for soaps. It could be
a company in one of the other Caribbean islands, they manufacture beauty products out of it.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of health benefits that come from it. And of course, it could be fertilizer. So this is just 4 of the agricultural products that we can tap into immediately that can help boost our economy.
And when you look at the relationship between central government and the THA, you becoming a member of parliament, how do you see yourself trying to bridge that gap or make that relationship more effective? Because one may say, well, when you have PNM in central government, PNM in THA, things appear to be smooth, but if it's another party, there's more static, etc. So you being a person, let's say, representing your political party and assuming that they may not make up the representation, the majority, how do you fit in that relationship there in Parliament and then try to bridge the relationship or make it more effective between the THA and central government coming from Tobago?
Okay. I know we have this misconception that it's going to be smoother if, PNM-led and PNM-led Tobago. But unfortunately, it goes smooth for the party and unfortunately not for the Tobagonian people. So regardless of who is in government, whether we make up the majority, because we have 37 candidates, God willing, we make up the majority and we get to really champion this cause in a simpler way. But we're not afraid of the fight. We're not afraid of debating. We're not afraid of bringing forth the facts and the voices of the Tobago people, bringing it to the parliament so that we can ensure that we get the right slice of the pie. Because we are looking at creating a nation within a nation. Tobago needs to be a striving nation. And one of the things we are advocating for is that we dismember this type of, it's in the books that where we have a ward. We are a ward of Trinidad. We need to become a state within this striving country. And we see it represented in the United States, where each state is responsible for their resources and their allocations, and they have a governor managing it and so on. We can also establish that type of system here in Tobago, where we are not so dependent or a ward of Trinidad, but we have a level of independence and self-determination.
Right, and unfortunately my producer is telling me we are out of time, because I really would have liked to go more in depth in that issue, but unfortunately these things do happen when you talk about TV and airtime. But I would allow you, Mr. Caruth, to talk to the viewers who are listening, and we know that some people have not made up their mind as yet. You talk to the people and you tell them why that you deserve their vote and that opportunity to represent Tobago East.
Okay. Well, Tobagonians, Tobago East, I want to let you know that a vote for me is not just a vote for me, and a victory for me is not a victory for me, but it's a victory for Tobago. And it's a victory for the grassroots. It's a victory for your voice. So don't vote for me. Vote for yourself. Vote for the heart. Let us create a Tobago that we can be proud of. Let us work together and develop a Tobago that can be once again be a breadbasket, that could once again be a champion for what we believe in. Our organic product can be, Tobago could be a hub for organic agriculture. For one, the world is demanding natural products. We, Tobago, have the resources, so let us work together to create that future.
And of course, I want to thank you again, Mr. Caruth, for chatting with us this morning, allowing our viewers to hear some of your thoughts on how you think in terms of representation. And viewers, I encourage you to continue to stay with us. You are viewing Fight for West and East, Fight for We, and on Tobago Updates Television. We'll be right back.
Thank you.